Hey guys, it's Gaz. Welcome to the Warframe video. So today we are giving you a endgame build for Hildryn. So Hildryn is the newest frame added to PC, and she is really good. She's got a lot of stuff going on with her. We're going to be discussing a lot of game mechanics today. So if you don't know exactly all the stuff I'm talking about, don't worry. But if you're using a lot of stuff I'm using, it's going to end up being really powerful for you, and you can bring her to a lot of situations, okay? So let's first go over a couple of her abilities. And her special exalted weapon that she has. So her first ability is called Balefire. So this is where she pulls out her special pistol, which is like a energy launcher kind of thing, and it takes your pistol mods into account on her special pistol. Also, it drains her shields per shot. So the thing about Hildryn, guys, is she does not have an energy bar. She has a huge shield bar, which is the fuel for her abilities. So if you are using a mod that gives you increased energy on her, it does absolutely nothing. So instead of mods that give you increased energy, you want to put on mods that give you increased shield, because that will let you feel your abilities and cast them more and more often, okay? So that's our first ability and a brief description of some of the things going on with Hildryn. Okay, so let's quickly take a look at the mods we put onto her special pistol. So this thing doesn't have very high critical chance or status chance. So we pretty much went like a really high, like raw damage build right here. I might put some more formas on here in the future, so I can replace this 60/60 mod with primed heated charge to get additional damage. But as you guys are gonna see, this thing does so much damage already with like this suboptimal build that it actually doesn't even really need the full damage. We have a little bit of fire rate on here just because you can charge her pistol attack up, and it will do even more damage. So some fire rate will make you charge it quicker. Let's quickly display that. So I push 1, I pull out my pistol, and then I'm just going to do the normal firing button right now. That's me firing it. There's max fire rate. See, it's draining my shield bar. I'm going to charge up the shot, and it's going to drain additional shields, but it's going to do a lot more damage. Alright, so that's really good damage. It's got an AoE. The AoE is affected by range, so however much range you throw on there. Let's quickly show how it does against these level 100 armored enemies. Pretty good. Pretty nice, guys. Alright, that's our first ability, and a brief description of the shield draining effect. Let's move on to her second ability, which I think is one of her best abilities. It's called Shield Pillage. So what this does is you first send out a wave that gets rid of negative status effects for you and your team. So in this case, it's things you're going to be looking out for here are poison effects, so toxin, and slash damage effects, because those are going to really mess Hildryn up. She has a ton of shields, and she has not a lot of health. So things that go directly to her health and ignore her shields are going to be a nightmare for her. So make sure that you are looking out for those slash damage procs and those skull and crossbones for the toxin procs. If you see those, make sure you use your 2 right away to get rid of them, or you might actually die through your ridiculous shield. Additionally, once that wave goes out, it will return to you, and it will steal some enemies. Well, it won't steal their armor, but depending on how much armor and shields the enemies hit by your initial wave have, it will come back and restore your shields and give you overshields. So it's kind of hard to describe exactly what's happening there, so let's quickly just show it against these enemies. So for example, these enemies have armor, they do not have shields. So I'm going to send my second ability, Shield Pillage, outwards. And then once it returns, I get a bunch of extra shields. See, I have these purple shields now at the top. I gain about 1,000. That's the max capacity my shields can possibly be at with this frame, with this current build. And they have their armor removed. So if I were to keep casting this over and over again, eventually they would run out of armor and their health bar would become red. So if you're fighting enemies that don't have either armor or shields, this ability does not appear to do anything to them. So that's basically the Infested. I wouldn't recommend using the second ability against the Infested because you're not going to really get any value out of it. But yeah, these guys are going to continuously have their armor removed every time I cast it, and they're going to take more and more damage from my abilities. So let's quickly use her third, which deals damage over time, and you'll see that it's doing 771. I'm going to cast her 2 again to remove more armor. It's now doing 788. Okay, so yeah, it's armor removal. So really good ability in a variety of situations. And it's probably one of the best armor removal skills in the game, honestly. We were comparing it to Mag's armor removal earlier, also Ash's armor removal. And it hits a huge amount of enemies, guys, so I really do think it's a very powerful ability that I would definitely recommend. It also is going to make her very survivable. Okay, so let's move on to her third ability. It is called Haven. So what this one does is it will affect all your allies in a radius. It will also affect all enemies in a radius, and it will deal damage over time, and it will also give your allies additional shield capacity and regen their shields. So this is a pretty good ability. I'd suggest always having this ability active if you can sustain it, and yeah, it's really not super complicated, but it is really good. It works through walls. It works on your pets, so your sentinel, your cat, your dog is going to have increased shields and shield regen while you're using this ability. So really powerful, honestly. We were just displaying that there. We'll show these all in action in a mission later, but let's get to her fourth ability, which is a really cool looking ability. And that is called Aegis Storm. So this turns you into like a flying doom turret. It's really fun. You get these jets on you, and you just fly around, and you lose the ability to use your normal weapons, but what it will do is it will lift enemies into the air, and they can't attack you, and it will deal damage to them over time, and it will also let you use your first ability, the special pistol she has, and since that does so much damage, it doesn't really end up being too big of a problem. Additionally, if those enemies die while they are affected by your 4, they have an increased chance to drop energy orbs, which, unlike other frames, which get energy from those energy orbs, Hildryn will actually get shields, because like we mentioned earlier, she does not have an energy bar, she has a shield bar. Okay, so we'll display all these in a couple minutes. Let's quickly go over the build we're using here. So we are actually just going pretty hard on power strength here. From my experience, she does not need the efficiency stat or the duration stat at all, really. So we can go pretty hard on range and power strength here. This Exilus slot, you can actually put a variety of Exilus mods up here. I'm going to recommend Cunning Drift, Power Drift, or something like Handspring, so you can get back up after knockdowns very quickly. There's even Vigilante Pursuit if you want lots of enemy radar. I do like enemy radar a ton, so I can definitely recommend that one. So we put 4 formas on here. We put 1 D polarity, 2 V polarities for these power strength mods, and then we actually had to forma off the D polarity in her Exilus slot because there was a D polarity in the Exilus slot before. And if you want to have a good variety of Exilus mods up there, you want to take that D polarity out. Okay? So let's quickly display how our abilities work against, like, in conjunction with each other. Okay. We're going to unpause these guys' AI. They're level 100. You would think they'd be able to just take us down no problem, but if we use our abilities smart, they're not going to even be able to hurt us. Alright, so we're draining our shields as we're using these abilities. We can land on them. Alright, cool. So that was our 4 and our 1 in combination there. You cannot use her second ability while you're in her 4, the flying, for some reason. That would be really strong if you could, because you'd have infinite shields pretty much. Also, while you were in her 4, pushing the jump button pushes you upwards, pushing the crouch button pushes you downwards. It's really fun to use, guys. It's not the most practical thing, honestly. I think her best abilities are her 1, 2, and her 3, but the 4 sure is fun to use. Okay? So yeah, now that we've gotten over that really simple stuff, let's get into the confusing stuff. I'm going to be showing some arcane combinations here, so we can find out what is going to make her very powerful. So since she has a gigantic shield, by far the largest shield in the game, 4,300 with this build, we have some arcanes that are going to influence her shields. So we have Arcane Barrier. So what this does is a 4% chance to instantly restore all shields when she is damaged. So if an enemy's shooting at us, we have a 4% chance to regain our 4,000 shield. Additionally, there's another arcane that involves shields called Aegis. So 6% chance for 60 shields per second for 20 seconds. Something that isn't mentioned in the description of this is this also triggers your normal shield regen per second. So that plus 60 is in addition to your normal shield regen. So there's some things that we're going to take into account here, guys. To be super tanky, you're probably going to want to be running these arcanes. Her survivability definitely drops off if you're not using these arcanes. My personal preference is 2 sets of Arcane Barrier, which will give you a almost 8% chance to fully restore your shields. It's 2 instances of 4, so it ends up being slightly less than 8, but we can just call that 8 for convenience sake. But here's the thing, guys. Since you're draining your shields when you're using your abilities, something that's going to give you constant shield regen like this can actually be pretty nice to spam your abilities over time. So if you're using your abilities very often, you might want to be using something like Aegis. It's honestly maybe up to personal preference, but we can do a quick display of how tanky she is with each kind of set of these arcanes. Okay, so since we're using the adaptation mod, we have 90% damage reduction. Let's put these enemies at level 50, just so we don't instantly die, because you're going to need to be casting your 2 a lot, because the 2 is the one that gives you your shields back. Okay. So let's use our 2 to get our full shields. And yeah, this is with double barrier, I believe. So see, our shields go down. If we get lucky, it goes all the way back up. And see, there's a slash proc there. We're going to use our 2 to get rid of the slash proc, and it's gone. So our health is not taking damage. They're only damaging our shields right now. Another slash proc, use your 2 again, get your shields back up. Pretty good, guys. So that's with double barrier. They can't really kill us right now if we're paying attention. Alright, so let's switch to double Aegis, which is the one that gives you the regen over time. Also, these come from the Eidolon and Thetis, so you can also get them from trade. They are very expensive right now because this frame just came out and she is a shield-based frame. Okay, so this is going to give us much less survivability, because these guys can probably outdamage the 120 per second we'll be getting from the shield regen. Alright, so we got our full shields. So see, it's going down pretty slow, honestly, but they will eventually kill us. We need to make sure we're using our 2 reliably. See, it's a little bit scarier with the double Aegis set. We're probably dead here. Oh, okay, so another thing about her passive is once your shields are fully depleted, you get a couple seconds of invincibility. So that's another good thing about Barrier, is that during that time, you can actually get your full, like, the 8% chance is still going to be going while you're invincible. So you can get your full shield back during that invincibility time. For survivability, guys, I'm definitely going to recommend a double Barrier set. I know it's expensive, but it is much better, and then we'll just do a one of each now. So 1 Barrier, 1 Aegis, just to see how this works out. Keep in mind, like, it's going to vary, like, depending on how RNG is feeling about treating you that day, because it is 8% chance or a 6% chance. So it's going to vary situation to situation, how survivable you are. So this is with 1 Aegis, 1 Barrier. Honestly, really impressive survivability either way. But keeping in mind, we have about 1,000 platinum worth of arcanes equipped right now. At least at the recording of this video, that's basically how much they're costing. So 1 of each, pretty good. Of course, we could just be fighting these guys if we felt like it. One shot at level 50. One shot at level 50. Where do you think you're going? One shot at level 50. So yeah, like, that's just showing how the arcanes end up working out. I think it's a very player to player by what you think is right for you. But yeah, I think she is really good. The crowd control from her 4 is really nice. The damage from her 1 is very nice. Armor removal from her 2 is also really good. And the team buffing from her 3 is also really good. She's just got lots of good abilities. She can fit a lot of different roles in a team. And I do think she is very worth obtaining. Currently, she's not farmable on PC, but apparently at the end of the week we'll be getting a new boss fight where her parts will drop from. I did purchase her with Platinum, and I could safely say I think she is worth the Platinum. But that's in a very player to player, of course. Let's take her into a mission and we can display how she works in a normal mission. We're actually going to do a Kuva Flood, so it's not exactly a normal mission. We level 80 to 100 enemies, but she can handle it. We just need to be careful of enemies that will deal slash procs to our health. So yeah, hopefully this is helpful to you guys. I know it's not like the most simple information. Oh yeah, there's also one thing I really want to mention here. So normally you run the Zenurik focus school on basically all frames, but since Hildryn does not have a energy bar, the energy regeneration from Zenurik is really not that useful on her. So I'm actually gonna recommend any school but the Zenurik school for her. You can still use Zenurik because there's some useful focus nodes there. But personally, I'm using Matarai right now. Increase my damage. It's just, yeah, you really don't get much value out of the energy regeneration. So you can do Vazarin to be a healer. You can do Unairu to be like giving your teammates invisibility. You could be doing Meramon to increase your melee damage.
Your job
You really have a lot of options,
the
guys.
enemy while a fellow Tenno operative raids the ship
Well, the Kuba's,
much needed
the Kuba
supplies.
Siphon just bugged out.
Your presence
It's
known.
not going to actually work since it spawned in this room. That's fun.
Life has
Well,
been cut off.
we'll just do this
They're
mission
trying
without
to
getting the
choke you
Kuba
out.
then.
Hold on. I'm sending
I just wanted to show how
auxiliary
Hildryn performs anyway, so it works
I've
out.
delivered a life support capsule to the area.
So yeah, it says that the
Activating
Siphon
it
is
will
there,
buy you
but I
more
don't think it
time.
actually has any spawn locations here. So
Those are the queens.
yeah,
What
that's
are you
unfortunate.
up to?
So these guys deal slash damage to us. They could potentially actually one-shot us through our shield. But if we're playing smart, I don't think we'll have a problem.
Where's the meat?
These are 3. See how the slash is going to our health directly? Something like Magus Repair or Magus Elevate. Gonna make it so you're not gonna be dying to slash procs as easily. Because as long as you get knocked down, you can't use your 2. Alright, so let's blast these guys. I'm definitely enjoying this build a lot. I'm surprised how like you just don't really need to care about duration or efficiency on her at all.
You're snoring, dreamer. My machines are tougher than that.
So basically infinite shields with the arcanes. If you don't have these arcanes, guys, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just make sure you're like actively casting your 2 to restore your shields. And don't get into like really stupid situations. Okay, so a slash proc did kill us there. So that's going to be the problem she's going to run
Additional
into.
life support has arrived.
So just be careful of those. That's our main problem. Since like, we had like 5,000 shields there still. These are 4 to CC these enemies. It does seem to be a little bit buggy right now. But yeah, this is definitely fun. I can safely say she's a very fun frame. Now, what kind of missions are you want to bring Hildryn to? I'm gonna say you can bring her to Kuba Survival as like a decent support frame. You can also bring her to like ESO, something like that. She does good damage. It's not like the most like widespread damage, but it definitely is serviceable. But yeah, so. Since we can't get the Kuba from this mission, I'm just going to do it as normal. That death, like, honestly, I don't think it was very avoidable, to be honest. We're going to hit these guys with our 2, steal the shields from them. Oh. I think that guy does toxin damage. So yeah, this is, like, I'm going to, like, just leave it as is, guys. See, he's dealing toxin damage to us. The Nox is going to wreck you. If high level Nox like that, that's just the reality of shields in this game. They don't protect you from toxin. And like me using my 2 there wasn't going to save me either, because he does enough damage per shot, I'm just going to die. But anything that's not a slash proc or a toxin proc, probably not going to kill you. Especially with this combination of arcanes. So we need to avoid that Nox, maybe just kill him outright, honestly. Let's CC him with our 4.
30 seconds left.
This is a bit rough, to be honest. A lot of these enemies deal slash damage, which, as I've mentioned many times already, is not very good for us. And the Nox doing toxin definitely is not helping either. Let's at least get some value out of this mission and get these wolf fugitives. Okay, well this guy is not dying.
Get ready for a capsule.
So yeah, the main problem with her survivability is that to restore your shields, you need to have enemies near you. Another problem with her, honestly. If there's not enemies near you, you can't restore your shield very reliably, and you're gonna run into some problems. Now you can dash while capping those guys. That's good to know.
30-second warning.
So this is some raw gameplay, guys. I want to like give you guys the most accurate information possible, and I could say she's like amazing god tier, but it would be like not completely truthful. But I can safely say she's very fun and a good addition to the arsenal. And since we're using Madurai instead of Zenurik right now, we have increased elemental damage as well as physical damage.
The Arcanes just made their first discovery. Keep up the good work.
Alright, cool. Got that guy. And the mission is basically over. Sadly, the Kuba siphon bugged out, so we didn't get any Kuba for this mission, but that's okay. I got plenty of Kuba.
Tenno, extraction is ready.
Lotus, don't you talk to me. So yeah, hope this was helpful to you guys. I think she will be worth the grind. I'm expecting some changes to her in the future, because the fact that like you don't need efficiency or duration is honestly a bit crazy, because that lets you run both of the corrupted power strength mods, which really buffs your stats a ton. But at the same time, the weaknesses she has to slash damage and toxin damage do bring this frame down a bit for me. If I was to rate her out of 10, I'd say she's like a 7 or an 8 out of 10, just because like in situations where you're not running into toxin or slash damage, really good. So let's quickly just show the build one more time, and just remind you the fact we're not using Zenurik right now. We're using Madurai. So we have 2 mods increasing our shield capacity. Keep in mind you could replace this with a shield regeneration mod if you preferred that. We're running adaptation to give us damage reduction, which does apply to our shield, which is really nice. Overextended to increase our ability range, which does influence a lot of things about this frame. 3 power strength mods, and then even more range, and then range up here too. You could run more power strength if you wanted to, but this has been working out pretty well. Okay, and then I'm also going to recommend double barrier, but you know, not everyone's going to have this. This is just luxury stuff right here. And as far as comparing her to Inaros, I think Inaros is much better as far as tankability is concerned, but Hildryn is definitely in the club with Inaros, okay? Inaros does not deal the kind of damage that Hildryn does, but then again, he can just throw sand in your face and stab you, and you're dead. Either way, so yeah. I hope this video was helpful. Please like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, I'll be here again very soon, guys, with Hildryn's special Arcwing gun in another video. So peace, guys.